So, welcome everyone to the Curve Foundation's book club series. My name is Sunny, and I am so very excited for today's conversation with special guests Jenny Hagel and Murray Hill. And we are today featuring Jenny's new memoir, Advice No One Asked For. But before we dive into introductions, there you go. Murray's got it on screen. A few housekeeping notes. This event is being recorded for our archive so that people can keep watching it on the interwebs afterwards. We have closed captions enabled, so feel free to turn that on in the Zoom toolbar. Please keep yourselves muted during the event to avoid any interruptions. Keep an eye out for our survey at the end, where we love to collect your input, which really do shape our programming. So let us know about your feedback. And lastly, I'm so excited for a special Q&A portion today. In addition to our general audience Q&A, Jenny will be giving you free advice. So please ask your questions for Jenny and for Murray in the Zoom chat, and we will be reading them out loud. So super excited about that. All right, a little introduction about the Curve Foundation. We're a nonprofit that champions the culture and stories of LGBTQ plus women and trans and non-binary people through community building and free intergenerational programs like this one today. And just to keep things brief, you can discover more about our work at thecurvefoundation.org. And now I'm so excited to introduce today's special guests. Jenny Hagel is a six-time Emmy-nominated TV writer and comedy performer in New York. She writes and performs on Late Night with Seth Meyers, where she created the recurring segment Jokes Seth Can't Tell, which New York Magazine named the best segment in late night. Jenny also served as the head writer and executive producer of The Amber Ruffin Show. She's been nominated for two GLAAD Awards for her work addressing LGBTQ issues on TV. We have also celebrated Jenny's achievements, recognizing her in the annual Curve Power List for 2026. And of course, today we're discussing her new essay collection, Advice No One Asked For, which is a heartfelt and funny journey through a list of life-changing recommendations. I just want to note that there might be some sound interference. Does anyone hear that? Okay, now it's gone. Thank you. Awesome. And Murray Hill is a one-man entertainment machine, comedian, host, actor, writer, and producer.
What are
You
you
may
reading
know
off a
him
teleprompter?
I off document. Yes. Is it giving professional? You may know him as the lovable Fred Rococo on HBO's award-winning series Somebody Somewhere, a favorite of mine. And from his appearances on film and TV, including King of Drag, Life and Beth, Jackpot, and much more. Murray's been named as one of 30 most iconic drag performers by NBC News and listed in 50 most iconic gender benders of all time by New York Magazine. Murray's memoir is also out now, titled Showbiz: My Life as a Middle-Aged Man. And you heard it here first. We are thrilled to also host an upcoming book club event featuring Murray's book. So stay tuned for the official announcement around that, but you heard it here first. All right, now without further ado, I'm gonna pass the mic on to you. So take it away. Thank you so much.
All right, well, first of all, let's have a huge round of applause for Sunny. That was some great reading. And Sunny, thank you because you read some of the stuff I was supposed to read. So now I don't have to do it. Anyway, just in case nobody if anybody had any questions, she's Jenny and I'm Murray. Okay. And we're both from Brooklyn. And we met at a show at the Kennedy Center. I was doing a show with her friend Amber Ruffin, and I think it was like a couple days after that show, they decided to shut the whole Kennedy Center down. So we are legit pioneers, freedom fighters, and gay as fuck. Okay, gay as fuck. All right, even though I'm wearing sports stuff. But anyway, so kids, this is what I thought that what we could do is we got an hour with you, and I'm going to ask Jenny some questions, and Jenny's book, and well, you can explain it a little bit more, Jenny, but it's based on a live show where she asks the audience anonymous questions to put in a bucket. I'll let you explain it in a minute. So we thought that would be fun, to break the ice after we do our traditional book talk, and then we'll do some of that, so you can put your questions in there. And then we'll take questions from you guys, not just advice like the game, but any questions you have for her about writing or anything else, or the color of lipstick she's wearing, because I've never seen it. Um, Showbiz. So I guess my first question is, has everybody have the book or is getting it? All right. I can see
I
some.
have to talk them into wanting it by the end of this.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to do, is grease the sails.
There you go.
Um,
Thanks, Mary.
but Jenny, all right, so could you start with, and we'll put a link to the independent bookstore. Oh, bookshop, you can get it on that link that somebody just posted.
Oh, great idea.
Yeah. So Jenny, tell them, basically explain this live show that you've done, and how um what's the format of that show, and how you even, I don't even know how you started that, but
Sure.
how you started that, and then how that made it into a book.
Sure. No, thank you. And also, hi everybody. Thanks so much for being here tonight. Yeah, so I've been a TV writer for a long time, maybe like 15 years, 16 years. And at one point a couple years ago there was a writer's strike, so we weren't allowed to do anything for 5 months. And so I was sitting around the house losing my mind. We couldn't do any kind of TV or film work, but one thing we were allowed to do is we were allowed to do live performance. And I hadn't done that in a long time. I came up as a live performer all through my 20s and 30s. And I just, because I was a single parent for a while and late night is demanding, I just had kind of like shelved that part of my life. And then when I had all this free time, some might say too much free time during the strike, I was like, you know what, maybe I'll start doing that again. Partly because it really fulfilled me creatively, and partly because I needed to get out of the house and out of my pajamas. I was losing my mind. So anyway, so I emailed a really great comedy venue here in Brooklyn. I said, hey, I've got an idea for a show. Do you think I could do it? And it was really just this. But the show really grew out of, I genuinely love giving advice. It is a passion slash sickness of mine. And it's just something that I honestly do a lot in my real life, whether or not people ask me to. So I just thought it'd be fun to turn it into a show. But the way it works is when the audience members come in, everybody gets 2 blank note cards and a pen. And there are buckets on the stage that say family advice, love advice, job advice. And while people are waiting for the show to start, they fill out these cards. They put questions on cards and they put them in the buckets. And then for the whole show, me, and then every time it's a different guest comedian, we pull questions out at random. We give people advice. And at the end of the show, um, I have a real actual human therapist comes on stage and tells us if we did a good job, and kind of like goes through the advice that we gave and says, well, this was good, this was terrible, this you should be arrested for. But yeah, that's the show that I've been doing. And then at some point I thought, it'd be so fun to write, especially because I tend to get a lot of the same questions. I thought it'd be really fun to write a book kind of based around this.
Jenny, before even, I don't even know the answer to this. Before, so you said you've always been into advice. How did that even come about?
I think I
Like,
just,
did you, as a kid, did you give advice, or you
yeah,
just telling everybody on the Seth Meyers show, like, you know?
I'm a terribly bossy person. But here's the thing is it's not like a mean kind of bossy. It's just like if I'm in a situation, and I feel like probably there's some other lesbians who can relate to this. I have this like kind of low key like I should be in charge here energy, which I feel like is very lesbian. See some people emphatically nodding. Um, like if I'm in a situation and I'm just like, oh, I know how this could be done better. It's so hard for me to sit on that, even if I'm not the person in charge. It's just so hard for me to not. And then if I feel like I have an answer that will help, and if somebody's talking to me and they're like telling me about some issue they have, it's so hard for me not to be like, "Ugh," if I don't know, I'll keep my mouth shut. But if I have a piece of information that I think could actually help the thing they're telling me that they have a problem with, it's so I can't keep it inside. And again, it's not from a point of arrogance, like, oh, I know better. It's just like if I have information that I think would help you, I have a compulsion. I cannot not say it.
Now, a compulsion, that's an interesting word, Jenny. Now, usually when you do this game, you have a therapist, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
So, you don't have to answer this. I've never, are you in therapy yourself?
Yes, I live in New York. We are legally required. All
Yeah,
residents
I've,
of New
I've
York.
been in therapy since the day after I moved here. So, I
Yeah.
get it.
I've never heard a New Yorker say if a New Yorker says they've never been in therapy, I'm like, oh, you're so messed up. You're afraid to lift up the hood and see what's under there. I'm
No
not
pun
like, oh,
intended.
you're, if somebody tells me they haven't been in therapy, I'm not like, oh, you're so healthy. I'm like, oh, you're afraid
You're
to open the door.
yeah, you're not dealing.
Yeah, yeah,
So what does your shrink say about your compulsion, your words, not mine, uh, to give advice? And does she give you advice and do you freak out when she does?
that is so interesting. I have never asked them directly, what do you think that means about me? And maybe I will do that next week. That's
Oh
great.
shit, we're having a big reveal on the call.
That's right. I've never asked them what they think that means about me. That's so funny. But I have once or twice been like, hey, look, I don't have your training. I don't know your work, but here's what I think is going on. And there have been a couple times where they're like, no, you're right. That is the deal. And I'm like, yes. I basically am like the way that other people fantasize about like being a third baseman for the Yankees or like being a rock star. I'm like, oh, well, I wish I was a psychologist.
Oh, shit, we're learning a lot tonight, Jenny. And so, what was I going to ask you? Shit, I'm like, I just can't believe I'm learning all this.
Yeah,
Uh,
Maria and I are friends in real life, but it's fun that we're learning new things about each other.
well, yeah, yeah, we're really, so I know, especially with, uh, you know, non-mainstream communities, there's a lot of stereotyping going on and stuff like that. And I know for, the lesbian community, I'm just, I'm a straight guy, so I'm just throwing this out there. But I know that sometimes lesbians and bossiness can be related to your zodiac sign.
Oh, interesting. I'm not an
So,
astrology lesbian.
okay, well, do we have any astrology lesbians? And is what's the bossy sign?
Yeah. If anybody can, okay, we got a
Sag.
Sagittarius. Yeah,
I'm a Sag.
if anybody thinks that there's a sign, I probably am. I'm interested to know what you think.
Yeah, what side do you think Jenny is as a bossy fixer upper?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
we
think
have a lot of Sages.
yeah,
Jenny, you attract Sages.
I
Cancer or
think
Virgo.
I think that I think that you don't have to be bossy to be a lesbian and you don't have to be a lesbian to be bossy, but I do think there is a genetic link. There is a genetic correlation like red hair and freckles. You don't have to have them both, but it's kind of likely you're going to have them both. If you have one, you're probably going to have the other. I feel like it's like that.
Showbiz.
If there are any like geneticists on this, like genetic, experts in like genealogy genetics, please feel free to chime in. Let me know if I'm right.
Yeah, we like lesbian stereotypes. They're based on facts.
Yes,
Um,
that's what we want people to take away from this. All stereotypes are rooted in fact. Oh no, that's not true. And I just remember this is being recorded.
I said it. I stand by it.
Fair, fair.
Uh, Now, I don't know how many people on the call are, in the showbiz world, but writing for television, writing for movies, writing for stand up, and writing a book, it's all like such crazy different things. And then, and Seth Meyers, how long have you been on that show?
10 years.
You've been on that show for, so first of all, everybody, for somebody to, a writer to be on a show for 10 years is unheard of, especially through strikes,
Yeah,
union strikes. So congratulations, Jenny.
thank you.
Uh, Now with his show, how, what's the writing process like for that? Because I know you have a quick turnaround, right?
You do, yeah. So it depends. If you're writing sketches, you have more time, right? Like you can pitch a sketch and then if it gets approved, you have like, depending on how soon it's going to be on the air, you have like a couple weeks to revise it. If it needs costumes and props, you go to those departments, you ask them for what you need. You do it in a rehearsal, make sure everything works. If there's graphics, there's, like sometimes people have over the shoulder graphics. There's a graphics department that does that. If you have funny music or sound cues, there's a department that pulls those. So you have some time to gather the elements. If you work in the monologue department, it's really quick. Like you get setups in the morning, like at 10
A
a.m.
day?
Yeah, at 10 a.m. you get a bunch of setups for jokes, which are like all monologue jokes are two sentences, right? There's a first sentence which is a true fact about the news, like a true statement, like the Supreme Court is back in session today, whatever, or today is National Hot Dog Day. And then there's a second sentence that you write that's the punchline. So you get a whole giant Word document full of the setups, and then you have 2 hours to turn around
Oh my God.
a couple pages of jokes. And then later in the day, you get another round of setups. So the monologue team turns things around really fast.
And so how does that work? Do they look at all of them and then pick the best ones?
Yes. Yeah, our head writer is a really, really talented joke writer. So he also writes a pile of jokes, and then he goes through all of the jokes and picks the 10 or 12 that make it that night. out of hundreds. So
And you do that every time you go to work? What,
every
4
time I
days
do
a week?
monologue, yeah, for the first 4 years, 5 years I was on the show, I did monologue every day, and then I transitioned more into doing sketches and desk pieces. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. So that's a very like high powered, high stress, fast writing environment.
Mhm.
So what was it like to then have the strike happen and then write and do live improv
You know,
shows?
I really liked it because first of all, like that's where my original training is. Like right out of college, I moved to Chicago and worked at this. I trained at a place called Improv Olympic. I trained at the Second City. I spent 3 years touring with the Second City. Then I spent 2 years on a couple of their stages in Detroit and Denver. Shout out Denver. There's somebody here from Denver. Hello. Um, so that live performance is what I had done my whole life, and so it was really nice to get to go back to that because I think I do love writing for TV, but there's a little bit of a separation there. It's not immediate, like you sit at your laptop and write something you think might be funny, and then it goes through a couple different, like you turn it into a boss who turns it into another boss, you get notes on it, you revise it, and then eventually it goes on TV where there's 150 200 people in the room, but most of the people seeing it are in their own homes, so you don't get the immediate response, right? You kind of imagine it. And I think there's something about doing a live show where, like, especially if it's improvised, you are saying things out loud in the moment, you're getting an immediate response. And also the things you say throughout the show, as the show is going on, you're getting a sense of the specific vibe in the room. And the vibe in every room, you know this, Murray, like is different. Every night is different, every venue is different, every crowd is different. And so what I really like about it is that like the show starts to take shape to fit the room that you are in that
Yeah.
particular night. And that can be I think live theater can be such a cool personal experience because you can do a show several nights, but each one is a little different based on who's in the room, and that makes it like such a special kind of one-time event. So I really liked getting back to that. Like I said, I love writing for TV, but it was very cool after so many years away from that to get back to it. And especially like post-COVID when so much stuff happens remotely, you're alone in your home, you're experiencing things through Zoom, which Zoom is great. Like it's bringing all of us together tonight, but there's also something that you lose in that and sometimes. And so it was kind of nice to just get back in a room with a lot of people and be like, let's tell jokes and let's all joke around with each other and have a good time together. And I think the thing I was surprised to learn is I think I thought a lot of the questions people would ask would be jokier. And some people
Yeah.
do ask really funny ones, but some people ask really serious questions. And I was like, oh, and there ended up being a more sincere element to the show than I expected, in addition to the comedy. And I was like, oh, I think we're all kind of looking for connection.
My God, I'm gonna start crying.
That's what I try to do with my comedy is make people cry.
Well, if they're crying, it's good. Yeah, but no, it's the connection. And then it's interesting because when you're in the pressure cooker for writing with a writing group and, a writer's room, and then you have producers and you have you have a huge group of people
Mhm.
that you got to deal with. And then, you're on stage and you're with a ton of people. So how did those two things inform you, first of all, wanting to write a goddamn book and the process that you actually do have to be, and it's been driving me insane. You do have to be alone with your thoughts in writing.
Yeah,
So it's all writing, but it's so many different manifestations. So if you want to tell us a little bit about
sure.
that,
It was
that's good stuff.
Yeah, I think the thing that really helped with late night, with writing the book, that like the way that my late night experience really helped me write the book is that late night has so many deadlines and they're so fast that you can't, I think
Mm,
before I was a writer, I think I had this idea that writing is something that you do, like you wait for inspiration and you wait for like the right mood to strike and blah blah blah. And like late night will pull that idea out of you immediately because it's like you don't have time to wait for anything. Something is due and it's due in an hour and you have to write it. And the show has to be ready because the audience is coming at such and such time and they're all filing into their seats and we will start taping at 6:30, so you have to get it done. So you don't but and that can seem stressful at first, but what I like about it is it removes a lot of the time that I think people waste when they're writing with self-doubt or procrastination. A lot of those self-doubt is like or self-editing where you're like start to write something and you're like no, that's dumb, I can't. And so then you don't even really even try it. There's a lot of false starts, and I think in late night you just have to start moving. And what's nice about that is it forces you to write, and then you end up trusting your instincts more. Because if you're like, I think this is even a halfway good idea, I have to go with it because something is due. So let me just try. So I think that that really helped with writing the book because book is so much longer that it would be so easy to get overwhelmed by this deadline of like, okay, I owe them 75,000 words. How am I going to write that many words? And it's like, buddy, by typing, sit down and start typing. You don't even have time to think. Like, it just helped me not think about how much I had that was due and just it helped me sit down and do it. But the ways that it was different is what I really liked about writing a book is I think that, and again, Murray, you know this, like when you're writing comedy, there's a certain economy of words that you have to tell a joke, right? Jokes can't be meandering, they can't take a long time to come to their conclusion. Economy is king in comedy and in joke writing. And what I liked about writing an essay is I felt like I just had more. So I think there were some ideas that I've had or topics I wanted to talk about that I didn't know how to fit into a joke or a sketch, right? They
Mm.
like took a little bit more time. You needed to tease them out a little bit more. And they might even have some components that are serious. And what I liked about writing essays is that it gave me a little bit more room to breathe. It almost felt like the writing equivalent of stretching my legs. Like I got to stretch out a little bit and be like, okay, here's the thing I want to talk about. And the concept isn't necessarily funny, but I know that because I'm a comedy writer, I can put jokes throughout it. But then I get to explore this issue that maybe at its core is more serious. Like one of the essays in my book is basically it's a book of essays. The first essay is about my obsession with giving advice, and then all the other subsequent essays touch on a bunch of other different topics. But in each essay is nestled like at least one little piece of advice, and it's just like things I wanted to talk about. One of the essays, I'm half white and half Puerto Rican, and I have a very complicated lifelong. Thank you, thank you. I assume you're clapping for the Puerto Rican half. Um, white people,
Yes.
we don't have the greatest track record, the white hat. But I have this lifelong, very complicated relationship with Spanish because I spoke it till I was 5. Then we moved to mainland U.S. and I forgot it all, and I've tried to learn it my whole life, and it sounds good. I would give my Spanish like a B minus, a B plus, but it doesn't sound. You know immediately if you're native when you hear me speak that I'm not. Something's off with my Spanish, and that feels complicated to me. And that's a thing I've never really found a way to write about because just me saying that out loud, you're like, this lady's not funny. That's not funny. But it was nice to have a place to talk about that very complicated feeling I have in this lifelong, all these things I've done throughout my life to try to better my Spanish and the mixed results they've had. And it was cool to just have a place to tease that out and think about that and write about that. And that's not something I could have ever fit in a monologue joke or a sketch. You know, like I have another essay about all the rejection and failure I've experienced on my way to trying to be a comedy writer. I have another essay that I wrote about that something I think is really important about like how to show up for somebody in your life who's having a hard time because that can be an awkward thing. And I write a lot about experiences that I've had on both sides of that. Um, anyway, but those are all things that none of them sound funny. But I was like, oh, I can explore the serious part of this, but then I know I can put in enough jokes that we'll all have a good time on the ride. But that's what felt different about essay writing.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't really think about it like as first of all, I wish I had talked to you before I started my fucking book because my book's not out yet, Sonny. It's out October 6th, but it took me 2.5 years to write it,
Mhm.
and a year and a half of that was late because I didn't have that. I was more like procrastinating, waiting to not be tired, which also, if you're from New York, you're always tired. So I was out, and then yeah, it's just everything was like, oh, I just got overwhelmed by trying to remember all of my, all of my life goddamn story just to even start writing. But I never really thought about, and I write jokes too, like that it's just 2 lines, but just to simplify it like that.
Yeah.
And, I think the thing, I don't know if you felt this, but with me as a comedian, people only see just the nature of the business and the nature of social media and everything. You only see kind of the end,
Yes.
the
Yes.
output, the
Exactly.
final output, which is the 2 lines of the joke. You don't see all this other stuff. So, you know, in the book, you are working out some stuff, but so did that come into play when you were included some more of the more of the vulnerable and kind of serious stuff? Did you want to like not only tell stories, but let people know about the full dimensionality of you?
Yeah, I think that's it too. It's like you think like, oh, there's other sides of me that I kind of want to talk about and show. And I think probably anybody who works in comedy has this thing where it's, oh, I think all humans have it, right? Like you have this sense of what the rhythm is of how much serious we can take before we need a joke, or sometimes how many jokes we can take before we need a serious moment. And so I think that's that's a balance that people try to find and experiment with in comedic performance. And so I just thought, oh, exploring it on the written page is another interesting place to explore that. Like for example, I feel like that happens at a dinner party, right? Or on a first date where there'll be conversation and maybe somebody will bring up something kind of heavy and it'll be a good, interesting conversation. But there's always that moment where someone kind of like there's a pause and then somebody makes a joke because you can tell it's like, okay, we need a break from this heavy thing. Or there might be a whole bunch of really fast jokes and we're all talking all over each other at a a group of friends are together, we're all out for drinks, everybody's talking, and then there might be a moment where someone goes, hey, okay, but enough about that. How's your mom doing? Like, right? Like we all ride that wave. Excuse me for one second. So sorry.
Is that your kid?
Yeah. But I think
Showbiz.
like we all know we have an internal mechanism that helps us measure how much seriousness before you need a joke, how many jokes before you need to take kind of like come down and talk for real. And so that was an interplay that I felt like that was the thing, and that was the thing I feel like I was playing with in my essays. And I sometimes like to joke that laughs are like poker chips. Like I think like I can feel like this in a comedy show, and I sometimes feel like this in writing. Like if you can get people laughing, it's almost like those are like credits you earn. And the more credits you earn in the beginning, then people are like, okay, now this lady's funny, I trust her. And when you've built up enough credits, then it's like you get to spend them. And you're like, okay, well, I've made these people laugh 10, 20 times. Now I get to have a serious minute. And they'll trust me because they've seen me, I made them laugh enough that they'll trust me that I'm going to bring it back around. And I kind of like thinking of it like that. So that's why like my very first essay is a bunch of very quick little bits of advice that are all very silly. And then I'm like, okay, I gave you a bunch of laughs. I feel like I earned these credits. So now I'm going to spend it a little bit on something, a little more of a serious moment. Now I'll drop in a few more jokes and I've earned some more credits. And then I feel like I save the more serious things for deeper in the book when I've earned enough credits that now I know you trust me. So I can introduce a topic that's a little heavier or more serious. And you'll trust me to go on the ride because you know that I'm going to bring you to a place that you're going to enjoy by the end.
Damn, girl. Damn. I to everybody that's listening or that's sitting back smoking a joint. Um,
Jen, who's eating a coconut, hope you're enjoying it.
yeah. I was just kidding about not being queer. I am part of the scene. Now, we're comedians, and I'd be interested to hear what other people think too. And you is like, yeah, there is the part where it's a lot of my favorite entertainers like Bette Midler, you know, Dean Martin, like all the old school, is yeah, they do the high, even Joan Rivers, hijinks, and then they get real.
Yeah.
What do you, I feel like how I deal with humor
Mhm.
and camp humor, so to speak, is all of the showbiz things, but it's also, I think, for me, a survival mechanism for being queer.
Yes.
Like that's how we have, like and I'm also older, you know. So I think like, what do you think is like the comedy stuff, but also like, not the comedy business part of it, but the actual, has comedy been something you use to help connect with people because you're queer and you want people laughing with you rather than the other thing?
Yeah, I think for sure I use it as a coping mechanism in any situation where I think I might be on my back foot. Yeah, I didn't realize I was gay till I was like 26, and by then I was already like pathologically a people pleaser. I was already deep in the dysfunction of trying to use laughs to get people to like me, but for different reasons. Like I was very awkward in middle school. I know, unlike the rest of America. No, but I was very awkward, like painfully awkward in middle school, and that's when I started like joking a lot in school because I was like, oh, if I do this, because it's true, like some there'd be some times where I could like make inroads into a social group or just get somebody to stop making fun of me at the lunch
Yeah.
table or whatever. Like I think I just started to realize like, oh, if I do this, I can ingratiate myself to people. And that started to be like how I would do well at a job interview or how I would, you know what I mean? Like it just started to be like the thing that I used, the currency I used to kind of like get into groups and rooms. And then I think when I came out, yeah, like I think that just became another place where I used that.
Shit. All right. So kids, well, we got a first question. So we thought we'd just do, before we get questions from everybody, we thought we would just do a sample of the game that she does. Um, and you can put the questions in the chat and tell us the categories.
Right. So when I do my show, I answer questions. I have a bucket that says love advice. I have one that says job advice, and I have one that says family advice. Now you can ask me advice about anything, but those tend to be I think the three most fun categories because they're like the sloppiest and messiest, and everybody loves to hear. Everybody has a question they're sitting on for one of those categories. If you have one, I would love
All
to
right,
hear.
so it's family,
Job,
love, job.
job. There you go.
What's the other one?
Yeah, no,
Money?
that's it. Yeah.
Okay. All right, here's our first question that we'll take. What's a great piece of advice, Jenny, that you give to people because someone loved gave it to you?
Oh, that's really lovely. What a nice question. I have a really good friend, and when I have this tendency to feel like if I work hard enough, if I think through everything enough, if I make the right choices, then every interpersonal relationship will go smoothly. I feel like if I'm just careful enough, then all my friendships will have no arguments. My romantic relationships will be conflict free. I'll never get my feelings hurt. If I can communicate well enough, I'll make exactly the right choices so that nothing goes wrong. And that's just not how things work. And this sounds so obvious, but my freshman year in college, my roommate turned to me and she goes, "Hey, people are messy. Just if you're going to engage with people on any level, it's going to get messy." And that's just the nature of it. But there was something nice about hearing that like, oh, that's just the nature of people. And if you're having some kind of difficult, not necessarily dramatic, but just, some kind of difficult interpersonal situation, it's not necessarily always just like a failing of yours. It's just
Yeah.
two different human beings bumping up against each other in whatever way, coworkers, friends, classmates, dating, marriage, parenting. Two human beings interacting is going to get messy sometimes, and like that's okay. That's part of it, and you don't have to be afraid of that part of it. That just means you have to work through it. But I thought that was really lovely. It kind of like it lifted some guilt off of me.
All right. Now, somebody had a question. Uh, I don't have the answer to this one, Jenny, because I'm still an active participant.
Okay.
How do you stop people pleasing?
Oh, this is so hard. I also am. This
God.
affliction I have. I think here's what I think. You have to ask yourself you have to quietly ask yourself in some situations, if there were no consequences, what would I want? And that's hard because it's so easy when you're a people pleaser to be like, oh, Janet invited me to this party and I don't want to go, but I feel like I have to because Janet will be mad at me. And then also, like, Janet came to my party, so I have to go to her party. And if you can quietly in the very center of your heart and brain be like, but if there was no consequences, do I want to go to the party? It's like you have to peel away all the layers of shoulds. And then some of those are like invented shoulds and be like, what would I want if there were no consequences? And sometimes that helps me get down to the core. Because sometimes it is a thing you can't get out of doing and you have to do it. But I think if you can get in the practice of just identifying what it is you want, because it's so hard to hear that sometimes if you're a people pleaser because you're so busy thinking about what everybody else wants. So if you can just try to even if you don't act on it, even if acting on it is too much, if you can start by getting in the practice of, as you're headed to Janet's party, just letting yourself know, I do not want to be here, that's a good first step. And then eventually, you might help yourself. You might get to the point where you're like, okay, I don't want to go to this party. So what's the next step where I can get out of it? Where I can say out loud, I can get comfortable saying, you know what, I'm busy that night. You know what, I can't go. But I'd love to talk to you some other time. Or, Janet, you've never been a good friend. Goodbye. I don't know. I don't know what your situation with Janet is, but I think that's it. The first step is very quietly, privately to yourself, trying to identify what is it that you want.
You know, Jenny, I hang around with a lot of gay guys. They're a lot of fun. It's small doses. Um, and one gay guy said that we were like trashed at a bar like in the 90s. And he was like, saying no is saying yes to yourself.
That's great.
And I still try to, I mean, I can't really deal with it, but I still try to kind of like when it's not, there's not a day goes by where I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that, but I should, and all that
Yes.
crap.
Yes.
So it's just like, and Bridget Everett always says, take care of yourself first, which is the hardest thing to
Well, the
do.
people yeah, that's exactly the analogy people like to use is the oxygen mask thing, right? You got to put your own on first. That's right.
When
Saying
that
no is saying
guilt
yes.
gets involved. Yeah, saying no, saying yes. Here's an interesting question, which I'm glad I'm not being asked, Jenny,
Okay.
because this is it's funny, but I'm like, oh, interesting. How do you engage with a toxic person without being sarcastic?
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think that what you want to do when you talk to, I have a couple people like this in my family slash life. What are you gonna do? People are messy. Uh, you want to, sometimes what I'll do when I'm talking to them is I try to, because toxic people, they want you to get upset, right? They want, if you get upset, it's like they feed off that energy. And if you're just want to, I try to stay as neutral as possible. If you can, while you're talking to a toxic person, you know how when you send a Gmail, there's three short suggested responses at the bottom of the email, and they're always the shortest,
Oh,
blandest things. Like somebody will send you some long, complicated email, and then the three suggested responses at the bottom are like, "That's neat. Okay, sounds good." Like if you are trying to deal with a toxic person and you don't want to give them,
I love that.
I try to imagine,
That down.
and I literally will just be like, okay, great. Thank you for that information. And if you just don't give them anything, eventually they will move on because they're not getting what they want, which is they want you to be aggravated. That's my
Yeah,
suggestion.
and there has to it has to be a. It doesn't work if it's.
Yeah.
Okay, that was good, Jenny. All right, here's another one. And this is kind of about service.
Okay.
This person has a lot of volunteer gigs, 6 to 7, to try to help deal with their trauma.
Cool.
And recently, and this is kind of related to actually what we just talked about, and recently ditched 3 of them so they could focus more on themselves.
Great.
And now feels guilty
Okay.
for dropping the 3.
There is only so much of you. There is a finite amount of you. And so you have to be really, think to yourself and be honest. Look at yourself and say, how much of me, what percent, think of yourself as a pie chart, right? How much of me can I give away to other causes before I start to feel crazy and depleted, right? You don't have enough time for yourself. You don't have enough time for your friends. You don't have enough time to like finish your laundry, right? Think of yourself as a pie chart and right, like time alone is in there, friends is in there, your relationship is in there if you're in one, your family's in there, groceries, shopping is in there, and just think really, try to think really honestly, what percentage do I have? Then give that much away to to volunteering, and then don't give away any more because you're not cheating other like there's no way you could volunteer at everything in the world. There are too many things in the world that need help. There's only one of you. But the second you overstep on how much you give of yourself, you show up at everything else depleted. So try to remember that like if you are
Yeah,
giving
drain the well.
that's it. So if you're giving too much of yourself to volunteering, then you're showing up half present to friendships, relationships, your like your
Yourself.
yeah, yourself. Your inbox and your email inbox is full of emails that are unanswered. Like you just don't have the time. Your socks are all mismatched in your drawer. Like so be honest with yourself about how much you can give away of yourself before everything else suffers and really try to stick to that.
That's good. And doing 3 volunteer things is a lot,
I'm going to say
so
that's three more than most people in America are doing. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's three more than everybody else is doing. So good for you. Instead of worrying about what you're not doing, also please take a minute to really appreciate how much you are doing. I'm thanking you. Thank you for the three things you're doing.
and service is healing for the people receiving it and the people so giving it. So good for you. We'll do a couple more and then we'll open it up.
Love it.
Uh, okay. I am the only queer person in my office. Should I code switch and be a cis het adjacent as much as adjacent as I can, or should I just let the queer stuff out?
Here's what I think. Unless you are independently wealthy, you got to get that paycheck. So I think what you have to do is look around the room, take the temperature of the office, and see how much gay they can handle. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to microdose your coworkers. So you're going to start out acting as straight as you feel comfortable.
Microdose.
And then you're just going to act a little more queer and see if anything, what the vibe is, what the reaction is. And if everybody is cool and they adjust, then you're going to give them a little more. And you're just going to, little by little, you're going to up the dosage until either you are fully yourself, which is what we want, or you hit a point where you're like, that was not well received, and I think there's going to be consequences. And then now we know where the limit is. Don't preemptively fully put yourself in the closet, but also, I don't know what kind of work you work in. Like if you work in something very buttoned up, like at a bank or some kind of corporate situation, and you feel like you need to feel it out, do it in stages. But
Very good, Jenny. Very good. I like that microdosing. All right, here's a good question. What piece of advice would you? Oh wait, what piece of advice do you wish you had gotten when you started 15 years ago with comedy writing?
writing a bad joke will not kill you. Failing at something will not kill you. It's okay. Fail, 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 fail. Do as much as you can. Because everything you do, whether it's like I'm trying to do comedy, somebody else is trying to get good at pottery or the saxophone or whatever it is they're trying to do, become a heart surgeon, the more you practice it, the better you get. You have to do it badly a bunch of times to get good. And so I was so timid, and everything I did that didn't work out felt like such a blow. And I just wish somebody had been like, it's fine. It's not an overall statement on who you are or your skill level at all. It just means that you're learning. We give ourselves permission to learn in so many other areas, but we don't, I think we often don't give ourselves that permission in creative fields because we have this idea that creativity is just a thing you're born with and that you don't have to learn the way you have to like if the first time somebody went to dental school and cleaned teeth, they messed up, we wouldn't be like, you're not born to be a dentist. Like we understand that learning to be a dentist is a thing you have to learn through practice and school. Creative endeavors are the same way. Like sure, there's somebody somewhere who's like a 7-year-old genius who can pick up the flute and then just play it perfectly. But most people go to music school and play a ton of bad flute before they play the flute well. So I think somebody had just been like, "Hey, being bad at it is not like a diagnosis of your talent level. It just means that you're learning."
Damn, Jay, we're gonna give you your honorary, PhD in psychology.
That's all I want. That's all I want.
All right, so we can take a couple more, right?
Yeah, whatever Sunny says.
Yeah, we're just,
They're my
um,
boss.
yeah, Sonny, you're our boss,
No,
except for
sounds
when
good.
Jenny tells you to do something more correct.
Yeah, we do have a question here that's for both of you.
Oh,
A bunch just came in, so let me just scroll up. All right. So for both of you, after your books, what's next?
Murray, what's next for you?
uh, well, I'm going on tour. That's what's next. Thank you for. I am going to Portland. And I decided to kind of go to friendly cities, and I don't know who's on the call, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But yeah, so the book comes out, and then I'm out performing live, which I love to do. Uh, and I'm bringing the band on most of the dates, October and November. And then I'm going to come back and do my Christmas show.
Excellent.
And then January, maybe Botox and Wegovy.
Dummy.
After that, no plans.
Great. I don't have a firm plan. I really want to try to write a solo show this year, so that's probably the next project
Well,
I'm gonna
that is your next project, by the
is
way.
my that is my next project. Is I'm gonna try to write a solo show. I've never strictly speaking done stand up, so I think, but everything I've done is kind of stand up adjacent. So that's something I'd really like to try to do. Thematically tied in, a reason I haven't done it is because I'm afraid to be bad at it. And so I think I'm going to try to take my own advice this year and let myself be bad at a new thing, a new form of comedy, so that I can try to be good at it.
All right. All right. Let's see what we got here. Okay, hold on. I think we got what's this good one here? This is an interesting one. Okay, when there's something you do that's really good for you in some ways, but isn't at all in other ways, how are you meant to decide whether to carry on doing it or not?
Okay.
This
I
this is addiction. That's me.
Is this addiction? Which
Well,
addiction
I mean,
is good for
that's
you in some
for me
ways?
it is, yeah, because it's like I love doing it. I
Oh yeah.
love taking gummies. It's not good for me, but it makes me happy.
I think this person knows the answer to this. Here's what I'll say.
Oh shit.
I think when you ask a question, sometimes you know the answer. So the answer to if there is something that's like kind of good for you but kind of not, the answer for where that balance is different for every person. So when you are engaging with whatever this thing is, let's say it's knitting. I don't know what it is. We're gonna say it's knitting. Or let's say it's eating salad, right? Because that's good for you, but I'm sure there's an amount of salad that could kill you. I don't know what that is. I'll never reach that level. But I think you know, or maybe you don't know, start paying attention when you engage with this thing, how much of it feels good, and pay attention to where is the point where it starts to not feel great or is not great for you. And then just be really honest with yourself about that and very clear about it. Like I have a good friend who never goes past 2 drinks. She's not, she doesn't deal with addiction. She doesn't have addiction in her family. She doesn't think it's wrong to drink. She just started to notice that anytime she has more than 2 drinks, she gets like, feels like weird and sad the next day. So she's like, that's where we're capping it. And that's her personal limit. And other people have different limits. But like, that was a case of her paying close attention to herself and being like, oh, here's the way in which I can engage with this activity where I can enjoy the good part of it, right? Loosens you up a little bit. You have fun, little girls' night out. You get to spend a ridiculous amount on cocktails, New York. But she doesn't engage with the part of it that feels crummy and isn't good for her. So that's it. I think the answer is inside you.
There's a joke in there. Okay, I get one more, and then we'll free for all. What's the best way to navigate gatherings when your girlfriend doesn't really like your brother?
Okay, first of all, is your girlfriend right? And is your brother a piece of shit?
Oh, shit.
If he is, then we got to make sure that we navigate things in a way where your girlfriend doesn't have to be around your brother or can be around him the minimal amount. Now, if they are two neutral people who just happen to have personalities that don't mix well, if they're just both good people whose personalities just don't happen to mix, then I think the ideal thing to do is have an activity. Nothing is worse for a family that has conflict like baked into it than sitting around staring at each other over a meal. Because you're just staring at each other, waiting for someone to say something that drives you crazy. So I think you want to organize everybody, we're going to go to a hockey game. Everybody, we're going to have a game night. We're going to karaoke. We are going bowling. Because there's something else to focus on.
Yeah,
In a,
well, that's good.
in a perfect world, at some point, your sister, or sorry, your girlfriend and your brother maybe work together on something. Maybe they end up on the same bowling team and find out they're both good, or they find a point of connection that they have not discovered. Now that's a lot to hope for. That's the ideal scenario. But the scenario that feels achievable is everybody's focused on something else and they're not focused on each other.
I like it, Jenny.
Thank you.
All right, so kids, so now we'll just open up the questions. If you want to ask Jenny anything about, the writing process, book, comedy, you want to ask me something about stuff, whatever. Sonny, can they just blurt it out, old school style,
Put it in the chat.
Put
or
it in the chat.
put it in the chat, or speak, whatever. Oh, this is that part.
I have one for both of you.
Oh,
Can you give me a nugget of advice for the art of the interview as you are doing so well?
Murray.
well, I'll answer. I was going to answer in my own words, but then I just remembered Patti LuPone, one of the greats, and she's just incredible on stage, incredible, and she likes to have a couple cocktails. So I was with her one night after her show, and I was like a dumbass. I was like, how do you do it? Like, do you have any acting advice? Oh, da. And she was like, Murray, it's simple. Listen and react. Listen and react. That's all you got to do. So the thing for me is like, yeah, you do your homework. Having a relationship with the person helps, but listening. Listening.
Yeah, not being so married to the questions you came up with ahead of time. If they say something interesting that you want to follow up on, actually be present in that moment and do that. Yeah, I think also just naturally be curious. If you're interviewing somebody about something, be naturally curious and ask questions that you're actually curious about. Like, don't worry about writing questions or asking questions that sound good or sound smart. Like, just if there's a thing you're curious about, a natural reaction you had to the work they created, the work they do, ask about it, because probably other people watching the interview are also interested in that. If you responded to it, somebody else did too.
Anybody else? We got a couple minutes. You can ask anything. We're cool. Jenny?
What's one thing you left out of the book? There's a piece of advice that I just didn't think to include that I wish I did. Because a lot of people ask about this at my advice show. People will often, at several shows, people have said, when is it okay to ghost somebody? And my advice is that it is never okay to ghost. Unless that person is like harmful or dangerous in some way and you need to ice them out or remove them from your life. But if we're just talking about like, I went on a bad date, I don't want to tell them. I have a friend and I'm tired of hanging out with them. I don't want to be friends with them anymore. I think it's never okay to ghost someone. I think it's so easy. You can just write a quick, short text or email. You can just keep it short and sweet and you don't have to, it doesn't have to be hurtful. But I think so many of us have had the experience of being ghosted and you turn it over in your mind for years. Even if it's just because the unsettled, unanswered question can drive you crazy. So I feel like give the other people the gift of closure. Even if I go on one date with someone and it doesn't go great, I'll just say something like easy, like, hey, thanks so much. That was a lovely evening. I'm not really feeling it, but I wish you well and blah blah blah. And that takes 2 seconds to write, and then they're not wondering. They're not, you know what I mean? They're not like, oh, did she hate me? Did she sort of like me? Did I have something in my teeth? Give other people the gift of closure. It's free. And give it to yourself. Because if you ghost somebody, oh my God, 9 times out of 10, you are going to run into them again. And then you're going to have to deal with the awkward ramifications of that. So give yourself the gift of closure.
All right. All right. Now let's see, we got 5 minutes. We had a follow up to that, but let me see. Oh, what's the one gay thing you'll do or have done for Pride Month?
I always go to the Dyke March. Always. Never miss it.
Mine is my wife.
Nailed it.
That's what I'm gonna do. You got me. You got me. Okay, two more. Two more. Anything you want. Ah, good question. I don't know if it's for me or Jenny, but probably me. Does your humor translate worldwide?
That's a great question. I don't know. I mean, I don't know in terms of language. I'm sure there are some things about the way I deliver jokes that probably is like tricky cross-culturally, but I think human experience is pretty universal. So I think like if there are certain experiences I'm having that are very specific to being American, I'm gonna guess like though like you might not understand the details of how I tell a story or the thing that's happening. Like if I'm like, I was at the combination Taco Bell KFC, like somebody in a classier country is gonna be like, I don't know what that is. We have real food. But I think if what I'm saying is while I was there, I put my foot in my mouth while I was talking to somebody and I was embarrassed. That part is universal. So I think that like the details, the hows and whys and nuts and bolts of my humor might not, but I think the overall um human experience of anybody's comedy is going to translate. Like there are a lot of comedians I like from other countries. And I feel like, yeah, I might be like, I don't know what a lorry is, but I do get what you're saying. So that's how I feel about it. Murray, what do you think, Murray?
Well, I performed in London, Canada, Australia a lot. Um, and then, sometimes within this country, it feels completely fucking different, no matter what city you're in.
That's a great point.
So, you know, I I have bombed so many times, and I toured for 10 years with Dita Von Teese, and her audience was like straight, like rockabilly, burlesque, yeah, adjacent to that whole scene, which is not queer
Hmm.
per
Hmm.
se.
Hmm.
So I really, it's kind of what we've been talking about a little bit throughout the night here is like, I had to learn how to connect with people and read the fucking room first and foremost as a person. And and to deal with that, what I've learned through so much bombing is I always sing a little song at the beginning of my show, because regardless of people don't understand the language or whatever, they see me being silly and in on the joke and singing bad. And, so it kind of disarms everybody on a very human level.
Huh.
And then I get into the jokes and I do this one joke. And, I say, oh, this guy's, you're looking at me, is it a man or a woman? And I say, the answer is no. And based on the reaction to that, then I know what I'm dealing with. So between the song and that joke, I can read the room and try to make sure I do the stuff that will connect to everybody. But if I'm like in Brooklyn, 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to start being fucking bananas and not worried about any of that. But if I'm, in Reston, Virginia, which I was 2 weeks ago, I
Oh,
was, I was
that's
very,
where I went to middle school. I hope they treated you better than they treated me in middle school.
yeah, we'll follow up on that. But I think so I didn't change who I was, but I changed the material to fit the environment I'm in rather than I'm going to shove it down everybody's throat.
Yeah. This is a question I'd love to hear the answer to. It says, Murray, how do you handle hecklers?
Well, that's another thing from trial and error.
Hmm.
Uh, and you talked about this too, Jenny, is you start to notice patterns. And
Hmm.
when you've done so many goddamn millions of shows, there's going to be the nasty stuff.
Hmm.
There's going to be the I think I'm funnier than you heckles.
Hmm.
There's, a random, like somebody heckled me once, foolish or Rasad. I was like, what the fuck? It's just, so to me, it's like ping pong. You just, but I do try. Somebody gave me a great note, and then I'll stop talking.
Oh, I'm wanting
Um,
to.
is all they said, Murray, always react in character.
Ooh,
So as Murray would react.
ooh, that's.
And that did help because sometimes people do say fucked up shit.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
I somebody said like something about like, oh, we don't allow your type in here. We don't do that in Australia. Fucking, I was like, what? Like it hurt me.
Ooh.
But once you show that in comedy that you're hurt,
Mhm.
then you're fucking dead
Yeah.
because that person, and it's always like a car accident that it's happening so fast,
Mhm.
so it's not, once you show some vulnerability, they're going to pounce even more. It's not like someone's going to remove them
Mhm.
and get them out of there. You have to be your own security guard. So if you answer with a joke, that can usually diffuse it.
Great.
Usually.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, showbiz. Jenny, what's your Instagram?
Thank you for asking. It is at Jenny Hagel. Just Jenny Hagel, all one word.
Okay, so kids, if you have any other questions, or if you just want to follow Jenny and myself, we're on Instagram. So hit us up there. And get Jenny's book. You can pre-order my book. I'll be forever indebted. And are you doing any more out of town stuff, Jenny?
Not right now. I just did a big book tour, so I'm gonna put my feet up for a minute. Um, I'm just gonna take a breath, which will be really nice. I'm going to the beach on Saturday, and I can't wait. That's the kind of stuff's happening over here. Not exciting, not career related, but
Yeah, but Dyke March is coming up next
Dyke
week.
March is coming up. Yeah, Dyke March is gonna be pretty great. Yeah, no, that's what I have going on. Yeah, and I also have an audiobook, and this is cute. My son does the introduction. So if that's the kind of thing you're into, if that sounds cute to you, you can also do that. If you're not into reading books, you can listen to it. Murray, what are you doing this summer? You said you're going on tour in the fall. You got anything coming up soon?
I'm going to go to the Liberty WNBA game, and I'm just going to be fucking gay, gay, gay all summer.
Yes, please.
And all right, gang. Well, hit us up on Instagram, and thank you everybody for logging on. And it was a pleasure to talk to everybody. And Jenny, pleasure to talk to you.
Murray, it was a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you guys so much for having me. This is such a delight.
Thank you so much, Mary and Jenny. This was an incredible conversation. And I can't believe we have to end this. It breaks my heart. But I put in the chat all the links you need to know for Murray's upcoming book, Jenny's current book and audiobook. And please, share your feedback with us, and we'll see you in our upcoming events. So thank you so much, and happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride, everybody.
Showbiz, don't take any shit from anybody.